Alright guys, just leaving Home Depot. We got this little piece right here. And it's a little aggravating that I had to go to Home Depot to get this, but it's very important that you keep all your pieces from last year, especially if you're rebuilding anything. Because if not, I mean it's only $1, but the time it takes to go do it away from your your work for the your Christmas display. Anyway, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning on November 3rd, and today we're going to be putting up my mega tree, my 60-foot mega tree. So I'm going to make a quick video. I made one last year about how briefly I did it, a brief video of how I did it. This year I'm making it a little different. My buddy of mine brought home a cherry picker for me to use today, so that's going to make my life a lot easier. So stay tuned, and you'll see how I put together my mega tree. First thing I do is get my ring together, and that's where we're heading home. Alright, so how we put this piece, this ring together is I'm using 1-inch drinking pipe thin wall PVC. I need 8 pieces of that, and 8 1-inch 90-degree elbows. These are the pieces I used last year, and I had marked them with a Sharpie, like 1, 1, 2, 2, so I can put them all back together. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's nothing written here. It all wore off over the year. I do keep these outside, so this year what I'm thinking about doing is getting some colored electrical tape and wrapping the pieces with the electrical tape, so it'll be easier to put it back together. So what I'm having to do is basically drill new holes, and then I put these eye bolts through them, put it on the bottom. Not only will keep it together, it'll give me a place to hang it from, because my tree unfortunately has to be a dangling tree. I don't know if that's right. Suspended. It's not going to be to the ground like I would prefer, but for security reasons, it's going to be suspended. Alright, this year we're using wire instead of rope, so I've got my 8 equal pieces of the wire together, and I'm going to be attaching it to our eye hooks. And I've got my ring around the tower, half on the roof, half not, obviously. I'm going to attach it and then pull it up to the top. I'm getting the cherry picker, the bucket lift up over here, helping us out.
Alright, today's the day. He's got his boom lift, and I am sure he is in heaven. Oh boy. This is definitely a first. He's always just climbed the tower, so this should be easy for him, which is great. It's probably going to mean we're going to be done with the tree in about half the time. Usually that takes about the longest to do. So, this is really nice. Our neighbor Dan brought it home from work for us. Couldn't ask for a better neighbor. Alright, let's see where this goes. Alright, part 1 is almost done. We've got the ring almost up. He's just got to take the knot out of one of our wires. But that's part 1. Once that's completely up, we will start on the lights.
Alright guys, here I am, the top of the world, the top of the tower. That's my Santa hat. Let me see if I can get it on my head. There we go. There we go. Alright, so we are up on the cherry picker. I've got the ring up with the wires. A little disappointed in the tension of the wires. Obviously it's holding it up, but it's not strong enough to pull these completely straight. So I'm hoping that will fix itself when I start putting lights on and weighing it down a little bit more, and we'll be able to adjust it from the bottom to make sure that the ring stays level. So what I'm doing now, before I put the lights on, is I took a piece of rope, I tied it to one of the leads, and brought it up, and I'm measuring the distance. So right about there. I'm going to tie a knot in it right here, and then I'm going to measure the rope and then divide that up equally to make sure all the channels are equally spaced. I'm going to have 8 channels coming up the tower this year, and I want to make sure that they're equally spaced. Plus I'm going about double lights than I did last year, hopefully. So I'm going to make sure I know how many rings, how many rings per channel, and how the spacing, what's the spacing going to look like. So that's what I'm doing right now. We're going to head back down. Okay, so we're back up, and I took the measurements, and it winds up that we're going to need a total of 32 rings, or wraps around. Each channel is going to have 4 rings, and they're all going to be spaced out 1 foot 1 inch apart. So I cut a piece of rope measuring the 1 foot 1 inch. So when I start tying off, I'll have the rope so I can make sure I'm staying equal and even all the way down. Now when we get down to the bottom, chances are we're going to be a little off, but that's another way to level as well. If you're going the same distance all the way around, all the way down, you'll know when you get to the end where you need to adjust. And hopefully I'm going to be able to straighten these wires out a little bit manually as we go down. When you're wrapping lights around the tree of this size, whether you're using rope, and I'm assuming when you're using the wire as well, the weight of the wire, or the weight of the lights, are going to pull inwards on this ring. So your tree is going to have a shape where it comes down and then flares out fast at the bottom. This is not a big deal to me. I actually don't mind the look of that. The only way that I can think to avoid that problem is by putting multiple rings in the tree. So we have the bottom ring, and put another one, a quarter of the way up, another one 3/4 of the way up. But that's just more money, more cost, more work, in my opinion. And I'm hoping the wire, it really affected it with the rope, because the rope is more, flimsy. But I'm hoping the wire will keep it a little bit, tighter, taut, and more of that normal Christmas tree shape. So the fun begins. Alright, here's the view of it so far. I'll kick this back down. You can see what we've done. Wrapping it every 1 foot 1 inch apart. When we get it around completely, we'll drop down 1 inch, 1 foot 1 inch. It's hard to tell, but oh, bouncy. So we'll go completely around. When we get back to where we started, we'll drop that line down 1 foot 1 inch and then do another wrap around. So that's how I do it. Bucket back down here. About halfway done so far. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and completed the tree. I'm going to take you up and show you everything that we've done. Even using the bucket truck, or the boom lift, cherry picker, whatever you want to call it. It still took me it took me almost 2 full days to get this up. Now, last year it took me the same time and I didn't have this. However, I did put up more lights. But I do feel better after the 2 days using the boom truck. I'm not aching and in pain from reaching and hanging on the tower and strapped in. But this is what we have. I'll take you up so you can get a closer look. I have lost count of the lights that I put on. I just put on, let's see, 16, about 2,000 more lights just today. That's a spiral. Alright, so what we've got here, obviously I showed you yesterday the rings that go horizontally all the way around. And then how I do my my spiral is I start, well in this case, I started here in the middle, and then I went up 3, you can see 3 rings. 1, was right here. 1, 2, and 3 rings, and then every wire that went up, it went 3 more rings. So it's a nice even spiral all the way up. Once you get up to the top, it makes it a little bit more jumbled, but at least it's even all the way up. If I had more lights to play with, I would have probably make them wrap around the tree more times. This goes around, let's see, about 1.5, 2 times as we go all the way up. Alright, so the brown wires are the spiral, and the green wires are the ones that go horizontally around in rings. It's just a lot of freaking lights, basically. Also, I mentioned to you before how, specifically last year, the shape of the tree, I wasn't too fond. I mean, it works, and it was to the point where I wasn't going to change anything. I was hoping the wire would keep the shape, but you can see down at the bottom how wide the ring is, and then it comes up and makes for a pretty narrower tree at the top. It's just the weight of the lights just pulls that wire down, and that's another reason that I use 1-inch PVC. I used to use 1/2-inch PVC, and you would notice that it would pull the ring in so much that it would start bending. There would be a bend in each one of the PVC pieces of pipe. So, again, just to recap, what I've got here is a climbable tower, stackable climbable tower, galvanized. It's up almost 60 feet tall at the very top. Well, I guess if you count the Santa hat, because it is higher than the tree, it'll probably be at 60 feet. We've got a 1/4-inch galvanized guide wire that's specifically used to guide these towers down. You can use any wire. I would prefer you use either coated or some sort of stainless steel wire, galvanized wire. It's not going to rust or corrode very quickly anyway. I got 1-inch piece of PVC with this is basically an octagon, as you can see. 8 45-degree angles. Each pipe is just a little under. I cut each pipe down 2 feet or almost 2 feet. So I think it's 8-foot sections. I did that last year because it would fit better with the house, with my house last year. So I obviously am not going to buy new PVC. I'm just having this little bit of a smaller base tree this year. Buttload of zip ties and a lot of lights. We had it lit up. We had at least all the horizontal lines lit up and working last night. I don't have my box installed, so it was just a steady static on. And tonight I'm going to hook up all the spiral lights and make sure, while I've got this very useful machine, I'm going to make sure that they're all up and running, at least as of now. So I'm not going to be able to give you a hot show of the light-o-rama working, the box working, until later on in a different video, but this is the completed project pretty much. And you might be asking yourself, well, what is this here? It's just a rat's nest of Christmas lights, and you might see some down. Zoom out, not in. You might see a bunch hanging down, like right there. You wonder what those are. I am a cheap man. I like to do things free, cheaply, do-it-yourself kind of guy, and wherever I can buy extension cords on sale, I'll do that. I always want to use extension cords, but for a lot of my display, I have a lot of old Christmas lights that don't work anymore. I've spent hours on them trying to fix them. So what I do is I take those, as long as they're passing power and I'm only running 2-3 sets of Christmas lights on the tail end of it, I'll use those as extension cords. And right now, last year and this year, I have 64 channels of light-o-rama, and that requires at least 64 extension cords, and sometimes more. If you were to have to go out and buy all those extension cords, it would cost you an arm and leg. So I recycle my old Christmas lights and turn them into extension cords, where they're not going to be noted. You're not going to see them up, obviously, so just keep that in mind. But you'll see that I have them here. I'm going to tuck them away. When I get my box installed, I'm going to tuck it away, and any lights that are on in the extension cord, like this here, this nest up here, is the remainder of the spiral lights from the top of the tower. I had some extra, so I wrapped them up and put them there. So I'm going to be taking out a bulb out of the end of it if I can to make at least half of the light go dark, but if I still have lights on in that section, I'm going to have to put them in a bag or wrap them with something so they can't be seen. They're out of sight. And my light-o-rama box is going to go up here on the tower too, so probably most likely a little bit about halfway down or so I can still access it if I need to. So that's one heck of a weekend done. I'm glad it's done. My biggest project is out of the way. Alright, here it is, static display. This is just the horizontal rings. Fortunately, I'm not going to light up the spiral rings to show you in this video, but you'll see it in future videos when we get everything up and running. And you'll see the shape. You see how I was mentioned to you about the shape, how it's nice and skinny at the top and then it kind of flares out at the bottom. There's no mistaking that it's a Christmas tree, but it's because the weight of the lights have pulled the wires in. So to fix that problem, we would just take another ring or two in the middle to keep those keep the wires pushed out. And that's it. Again, check back later when we get some videos of the show going so you can see how it works and all the channels in action.